Major funding for KPBS Evening Edition has been made possible in part by Bill Howe Family of Companies, providing San Diego with plumbing, heating, and air restoration, flood and remodeling services for over 40 years. Call 1-800-BILL-HOWE or visit billhowe.com. And by the Conrad Trebas Foundation, Darlene Marco Shiley, and by the following. And by viewers like you. Thank you.
The Ocean Beach Pier is on its way out, but now we're getting a glimpse of what the future could hold. Thanks for joining us. I'm Maya Trabulsi. The final design for a newly renovated landmark will be unveiled at an upcoming community workshop. KPBS reporter Melissa May has more about the pier's current state and what happens next.
The Ocean Beach Pier is still closed to the public because of safety concerns. But community members will soon have a better idea of what its replacement will look like.
This is a once-in-a-lifetime project for everyone it's involved, including the community, and our goal is to create another landmark structure for the San Diego.
Elif Chetin with the city of San Diego says since last year, about 3,400 San Diegans gave input on what the new pier should look like.
They are the users of this facility, and they will embrace it better if they had a chance to provide input on the design, help us shape the design.
Chetin says they will reveal the final design concept on April 6th.
And we are going to have an interactive workshop to work on some of the details. We would like to see what kind of lighting fixtures community would like to see. We have some shading opportunities. We would like to get input on that.
She says the final design includes the public feedback and combines features from 3 initial designs. The squint test includes a large infinity plaza to sit and gather at the end of the pier. The remora includes a lounge to watch the surfers. And the braid has several fishing terraces.
Fishing was definitely one of the components we needed to include. Community would like to have the ocean experience without being in the ocean, so we are keeping the length and the original shape of the pier. We are staying true to it.
The public is invited to attend the community workshop from 2 to 5 p.m. on Saturday, April 6th at the Liberty Station Conference Center. Melissa May, KPBS News.
Tonight, several agencies will come together to discuss the impact and possible solutions to the ongoing sewage crisis in Imperial Beach. The meeting will be at the Burris Auditorium at South Bay Union School District headquarters. 5 organizations will give presentations at the International Boundary Water Commission, the EPA, Scripps Institution of Oceanography, and the SDSU School of Public Health. They're also expected to give an update on repairs to a pump station at the wastewater treatment plant.
We do hope that things start getting back to normal. We'll be able to turn on the other pump station in Mexico, PBCLA, which diverts the flows from the river and puts those into the Tijuana wastewater system. So with that, we should see less flow going down the Tijuana River and reaching the coast and our beaches. So that's what we're hoping for.
The meeting begins at 6 p.m. and is open to the public.
I'm Ariella Scalise, and coming up tonight, areas of low clouds move on in, temperatures dropping into the 50s. Some of us still have a nice way to wrap up the week, but we're going to be watching cooler temperatures ahead of, unfortunately, a very rainy weekend. I'll have a closer look at the forecast coming up.
Today, sophomore students at Hoover High School handled their anxiety and stress head-on through a class project. They also supported the mental health of hundreds of their classmates. KPBS education reporter MG Perez takes us to their self-care fair.
They're just little fleshies, but you can name them.
15-year-old Ivana Ramirez is a straight-A student. She proudly admits to using animal therapy to help her with the stress of being a sophomore here at Hoover High School.
Keeping with the dog can literally make me more sociable. It's like, maybe I should do this. You know, it always makes me feel more optimistic.
Ivana is using cute stuffed animals to educate her classmates on the mental health benefits she enjoys. About 100 sophomores have spent the past 4 months researching and coordinating their first self-care fair. The project-based learning started in their science and English classes, looking at the physiology and social causes of childhood childhood stress.
The biology teacher and I came up with this idea last summer as a project to meet the needs of our students here at Hoover.
500 Hoover students, from freshmen to seniors, came to the gym throughout the day to experience the options available to them for healing and help when they need it most.
Therapy is just helping myself, making sure that I'm doing good, and just finding a way to help maintain my stress.
Intense exercise is one therapy, sensory slime making, and ice-cold water are others.
Because all you think about are your hands, your cold hands. I feel like it helps you get your mind off of things. It really helps you.
Self-care is not often taught in traditional curriculum, but Hoover is a community school, which makes it a perfect setting for new ideas and solutions. A community school has partnerships with outside organizations to provide resources for the specific needs of students and their families. These students are all survivors of the COVID shutdown and the resulting consequences.
It made everyone feel like they were kind of in their own bubble and very isolated. So I think that kind of carried on to here, where we just kind of struggle with talking about our feelings and finding a way to deal with stress.
By the end of the day, this is one stress test everyone passed. MG Perez, KPBS News.
KPBS is taking an in-depth look at mental health in our schools. Part 1 in the 3-part series is coming up. This year, Imperial County's main energy provider is overhauling how it charges thousands of customers. KPBS Imperial Valley reporter Corey Suzuki says the utility is trying to make bills more predictable.
The Imperial Irrigation District, or IID, is switching thousands of customers to a new monthly average billing system. That means they'll pay a set cost instead of an energy bill that fluctuates every month. IID decided to update its billing system after last summer, when record-breaking temperatures struck the valley, and many residents saw surging, unpredictable energy bills that doubled in some cases.
So our customers kind of got hit with a double whammy, if you will.
Robert Shetler is an IID spokesperson.
So we're all turning our air conditioners on, and then IID is out there buying power on the open market and getting hit with these extreme costs.
Shetler says their hope is that this new average system will mean more predictable and affordable bills this summer by spreading out those costs over the year. That does mean bills might be higher than usual right now, since residents tend to use less energy during colder months. IID has already automatically switched over around 12,000 lower-income customers, but the utility is encouraging all of its customers to opt into the program. Corey Suzuki, KPBS News, El Centro.
San Diego is updating its master plan for growth and development. KPBS Metro reporter Andrew Bowen says Blueprint SD aims to help the city build more housing at a faster pace.
San Diego needs a lot more housing, especially in areas that are close to jobs and public transit. But actually rezoning those communities for higher density can take upwards of 5 years. Blueprint SD analyzes where the city needs to densify in order to reduce car travel and achieve the goals in its climate action plan. City Planning Director Heidi Von Blum says that high-level analysis will allow the city to update its neighborhood-level plans in just 2 to 3 years.
The faster community plan update process means that more people can be involved and stay involved in shaping their community's future and can focus on the issues that are really the most important to them.
A draft of Blueprint SD was released for public comment last week. It includes this heat map. The blue and purple areas are where growth is more sustainable, where people are less dependent on cars to get around, since biking, walking, and public transit are easier options. Von Blum says having that map done now will save time and money down the line.
We really are saving a lot of governmental resources as well as paper by not having to repeat the same analysis over and over and over again.
The public has until April 29th to comment on Blueprint SD. It's set for a vote at the City Council sometime this summer. Andrew Bowen, KPBS News.
A renewed effort to recall Governor Gavin Newsom is moving forward. The Secretary of State approved the gathering of signatures in support of a recall yesterday. Proponents now have until September 3rd to collect more than 1.3 million signatures from registered voters. If they're successful, the recall will go to an election. In 2021, Californians voted 62 to 38% to keep Newsom in office. It cost the state more than $200 million. Abortion rights are front and center this week at both the Supreme Court and the campaign trail. Today, a majority of justices appeared skeptical of the idea of a nationwide ban on the abortion pill. Julia Benbrook explains how the court responded during oral arguments today.
The Biden team regularly highlights how the Dobbs decision impacted access to reproductive health care across the country. President Joe Biden and Vice President Kamala Harris did this again during an appearance on Tuesday in North Carolina. Their event took place just hours after the Supreme Court heard oral arguments on a major abortion pill case. It's the most significant abortion case to land before the Supreme Court since Roe v. Wade was overturned in 2022. Several anti-abortion doctors and medical groups are challenging steps the Food and Drug Administration took to expand access to the abortion pill mifepristone, such as allowing the drug to be distributed through the mail.
Without question, the FDA's actions have made taking chemical abortion drugs less safe.
During oral arguments Tuesday, conservative and liberal justices pressed the abortion pill challengers on why a nationwide ban is needed. If doctors involved could simply exercise their own religious and conscientious objections individually. A decision in that case is expected by the end of June or early July. Just hours later, President Joe Biden and Vice President Kamala Harris made a rare joint appearance in North Carolina.
The Supreme Court heard a case to gut access to medication that was approved by the FDA 20 years ago to give women a choice.
Biden and Harris are looking to contrast the Democratic ticket's vision for health care and reproductive rights with proposals put forth by Republicans.
Access to health care should be a right and not just a privilege.
Their campaign believes reproductive rights will be a galvanizing issue for voters heading into November's elections. Harris has taken the lead on reproductive rights messaging. She's leading what Democrats are calling the Fight for Reproductive Freedoms tour and making stops across the country. Reporting at the White House, I'm Julia Benbrook.
There's increased security along the southern border in Texas. 200 additional National Guard troops arrived in El Paso today, deployed by Governor Greg Abbott. It comes as a federal appeals court ruled a controversial state immigration law will remain blocked while legal challenges play out. The law allows state officials to arrest, detain, and deport people suspected of entering the U.S. illegally. The court will hear arguments on April 3rd as it considers whether the injunction will be upheld. Federal agents are analyzing a black box containing recordings from the ship that slammed into a bridge in Baltimore. At least 8 people fell into the river below, and authorities say 6 people are still missing and presumed dead. Laura Aguirre has more on the investigation.
We do have the data recorder, which is essentially the black box. We've sent that back to our lab to evaluate.
Their goal, locking down exactly what happened before the container ship's devastating collision with the Key Bridge. Along with grabbing the black box Wednesday, the NTSB team collected perishable evidence like electronics and documentation. The board's chair says they'll also check for dirty fuel.
It really is something that we look at in all of our investigations, but that would certainly affect the operation of the vessel.
The design of the bridge itself also under close examination after photos circulated showing the possible absence of fenders on support pillars.
I've seen the pictures. Again, we'll want to look at everything that on the structure of the bridge.
The company that manages the vessel, Synergy Marine Group, is connected to at least 3 deadly incidents since 2018, according to authorities involved in those investigations. In 2016, the Dolly was involved in an accident in Antwerp. Port officials there confirmed to CNN. Now, the safety records of both the ship and Synergy will be central to the Baltimore investigation.
It may very well turn out that the ship owners are liable.
If any private party is responsible, then they will be held accountable.
An accounting that's coming into clearer focus with each passing day as the NTSB and other agencies piece together this tragic event. I'm Laura Aguirre for KPBS News.
And the tragedy at the Port of Baltimore could impact the supply chain. Transportation Secretary Pete Buttigieg warns returning to normal will take a long time and a lot of money. The Danish shipping company that chartered the ship involved in the collision has suspended service in Baltimore, quote, for the foreseeable future. Baltimore is the 9th largest U.S. port for international cargo.
This has a significant and a seismic impact economically, not just on Baltimore, but on the entire state of Maryland. We're talking about $191 million a day of economic activity, 8,000 jobs that are directly related to this.
Baltimore also ranks first among U.S. ports that process cars and light trucks, including farm equipment. In 2023, the port handled a record 850,000 cars and trucks. A rising number of high school students report poor mental health, according to CDC data. And this week, KPBS is looking at mental health in schools. Reporter Katie Hyson spoke with people trying to identify the need for early help.
School therapist Shay Prophet says he grew up with a single mother and few opportunities. His no-nonsense cadence and ramrod straight posture hint at his military background. After 2 tours, he became a correctional officer.
I did find myself seeing some of the inmates and seeing a reflection of myself, seeing the challenges that they faced, and if they would have had somebody or a resource, would they still be in this situation?
He would give the incarcerated men advice, try to help with their transition out.
I used to get feedback from my supervisors like, that's not what you're here for. If you want to do this, you need to go back to school and become a counselor.
So he did. But then he had what he calls an epiphany.
If I was going to be a correctional counselor, you had to go to a facility in order to see me. You had to have already gotten in trouble or done some sort of crime, and then I can give you a service. So during school, I decided to go into preventative maintenance.
He went back to where the school to prison pipeline starts, with children like himself who need resources and aren't getting them. Now program director for SBCS, formerly South Bay Community Services, he oversees an enormous task to screen San Isidro School District students, 2nd through 8th grade, and provide them with the right behavioral and emotional health services. He asks them questions like,
do you like school? Are you turning your homework in on time? Are you able to get along well with others?
His team places students who need a little extra support into groups to learn things like conflict resolution and emotional regulation. They sometimes connect high-risk students with therapists. Prophet says the screening, now in its first full year, addresses a key problem. A lot of students who need help don't seek it.
Beforehand, all my referrals would come from either the teachers or the parents, but it kind of eliminates the voice of the student themselves.
Screening lets them bring the services to the students. They also work with caregivers.
If we're putting a Band-Aid on it, we're working with them at school, and then they go home and it gets washed off because they don't have the appropriate services or they don't have the resources available to them, then a lot of our work is just going in circles. So we try to reach out to the families and see what resources they might need.
What do students themselves think?
I think I look at mental health and the current mental health crisis that the youth are at, not as so much a cause, but rather as a symptom of many other ways we're neglecting and failing our students.
That's Matthew Kitoriano, high school junior and San Diego Unified Student Board member.
Bell schedule and also the pressure of increasingly low acceptance rates within colleges creates a culture that really is focused on academics and not all the wonderful things that you can learn in high school, like how to make friends.
Kitoriano says some of the mental health work in schools is being led by students. With UCSD, they're designing a new curriculum.
Using the classroom as a space to say, hey, the same way we talk about here's what to do if you have, here's what to do if you get scraped on the playground. Here's what to do if you hit your head. Like, the same way that we treat physical injuries, we also want to think about how do we care for our mental health in that same way.
State funding has allowed 3 schools to create wellness centers,
where students can maybe take 10-15 minutes out of their day and just sit in a calming space. They're wonderful and they have great snacks.
But he says it's hard to staff centers at all schools because of limited resources.
Having an inclusive space is great, but without someone in there to look after, to make sure that people are really being supported in that space, these wellness centers really can't be reaching their full potential.
Despite more mental health initiatives in schools, some students fall through the cracks. Tomorrow, we'll look at a group facing some of the highest needs and biggest barriers: LGBTQ plus students. Katie Hyson, KPBS News.
And our weather headlines are showing that windy weather makes a comeback, especially for the mountains and deserts ahead of our next storm system that's moving on through as we head into the weekend, bringing some moderate to even heavy areas of precip rain and some of that mountain snow. As we head into early next week, we'll start to see some slow drying make its way back throughout San Diego County. Tonight, most of us are staying dry. 47 in Oceanside, Chula Vista 50, Borrego Springs 52, and Mount Laguna a cold night for you, down to 39 degrees. Through the day tomorrow, it's still pretty nice. Get out and enjoy while you can. 66 into Oceanside, 65 into San Diego, Borrego Springs 81, and Mount Laguna, your temperature staying into the upper 40s as we head into our Thursday. We're jumping right into the weekend here. Our setup for Saturday as a storm system offshore starts to send more moisture into California. That includes us here in SoCal. We're going to be seeing the showers move on through. Could see some localized areas of flooding. Heads up. Rough surf moving on in, and this will definitely slow things down as we head into the weekend. Second half of the weekend, the storm does linger, if not even sends us some areas of heavier rain. So I think Sunday the worst of the two, unfortunately, for any of those Easter plans that maybe we were planning to be outside, or if you had travel plans with some brief heavy downpours. Could start to see some ponding on the roadways, and the wind's going to be gusty too as the storm system moves on in. Again, bad timing here, right, for the weekend. So the next 2 days are dry along the coast, but rain and cooler conditions Saturday and Sunday before drying out as we head into the day on Monday. When we look at the inland forecast, stays partly sunny, a brief cooling of temperatures by Friday, and then chillier with the rain as we head into the weekend. A shower or two lingers Monday morning. Otherwise, we start to warm up and start to dry out. The mountain forecast calls for increasing winds tomorrow, though we're still dry, but significantly cooler by Friday. Wind, clouds on Saturday, and snow moving in as we head into the day on Sunday. A shower or two on Monday, but then we'll start to dry out and warm up. And we'll have breezy conditions for the deserts as we head into Friday, and then cooler with some showers around Sunday into Monday. For KPBS News, I'm Ariella Scalise.
I'm William Brangham. Tonight on the NewsHour, investigators gather more details on what led to the Baltimore Bridge collapse. Coming up at 7, right after Evening Edition on KPBS.
The Sacramento City Council voted to declare California's capital a sanctuary city for transgender people. The resolution took effect immediately after it was unanimously approved last night. It ensures that no city resources will be used to criminalize people seeking gender-affirming health care. A trans advocate says families are moving to Sacramento from other states that restrict or ban the care.
Moved to Sacramento, they've come here and they found a welcoming home for themselves. The problem is right now what's happening is we're being used as kind of a political scapegoat.
And there are 23 states that now restrict or ban gender-affirming care. A new village to address homelessness among LGBTQ plus young people in Vista is now open. It's the only one of its kind in North County. KPBS North County reporter Alexander Wynn was invited for an exclusive look.
With a quick snip of the ribbon, Unicorn Villages in Vista is officially open. It was the culmination of months of efforts between the North County LGBTQ Resource Center, Casa de Luz, and the Palomar Unitarian Church.
We're having youth, young adults coming, literally with a backpack, and they wouldn't know what to do.
Max Disposti with the North County LGBTQ Resource Center says it addresses a critical need.
Sometimes youth were forced to stay in places where they were not welcome just because they didn't have any housing, any safety net to leave their own home.
According to a UCLA study, 40% of youth experiencing homelessness identify as LGBTQ+. San Diego Youth Services says there are more than 2,000 youth experiencing homelessness in the county. That's where Unicorn Villages come in.
It was developed as transitional housing to keep our youth from winding up on the streets.
Jennifer Iannoli is the director of Unicorn Homes and Villages. The North County LGBTQ Resource Center already operates Unicorn Homes for homeless youths 14 and up. But Unicorn Villages is the first transition shelter for youths 18 to 29 years old.
To give the kids some dignity, some independence, to not just have to be in a shelter and staying on a cot.
Currently, there are 5 cottages and more are planned. We weren't allowed to film inside the cottages because of privacy concerns, but inside there's a bed, a microwave, and a nightstand. It's meant to feel like home. Data shows one of the most common reasons LGBTQ plus youths end up on the streets is family rejection. Vista Deputy Mayor Katie Melendez says the cottages represent the beginning of something bigger.
We have parking lots throughout the city that can accommodate this type of quality, positive, village-like housing settings for people who are in need.
For more information on Unicorn Villages, visit ncresourcecenter.org. Alexander Nguyen, KPBS News.
And you can find this story along with more news from North County, San Diego in our newsletter. North County Focus offers a quick recap of the big stories happening in North County, as well as a roundup of everything happening in the region. You can sign up for it at the link shown on your screen. That's kpbs.org/North County Focus. And here is a look at what we're working on for tomorrow in the KPBS newsroom. On NPR's Morning Edition, Morgan's Wonderland is believed to be the world's first ultra-accessible theme park. How the park built for people with disabilities is expanding. And KPBS Midday Edition is wrapping up all of the best in arts and culture events around town for the weekend preview. And as always, you can find tonight's stories on our website, kpbs.org. Thanks for joining us. I'm Maya Trabulsi. Have a great evening.
Major funding for KPBS Evening Edition has been made possible in part by Bill Howe Family of Companies, providing San Diego with plumbing, heating, and air restoration, flood and remodeling services for over 40 years. Call 1-800-BILL-HOWE or visit BillHowe.com. And by the Conrad Prebys Foundation, Darlene Marco Shiley, and by the following. And by viewers like you. Thank you.